Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. We're back again. We get another one of the legendary creatures from the main set of Final Fantasy that I've taken and tried to turn into Commander deck. And this one's, yeah, different. Let's go with that. It's different because it is Omega. Heartless Evolution. 5 green and blue for an 8/8. Legendary creature artifact robot. And it's uncommon. But, Wave Cannon. When Omega enters, for each opponent, tap up to one target non-land permanent that opponent controls. Put X stun counters on it for each of those permanents, and you gain X life, where X is the number of non-basic lands you control. Right, a blue-green deck that cares about non-basic lands. Yeah, okay, I can cope with that idea. I can also cope with the fact that it's just stupid, because if you build your deck correctly, you can have 30 something non-basic lands that produce the colors you need, and then tap the most powerful creatures on the board down for X turns. Now, that doesn't always help because, you know, that's fine. Omega costs 7 mana. But if you're going to do that and tap the big things down, then you really need a way to take advantage of it. And the easiest way to take advantage of it is probably having a whole load of haste creatures. But we haven't got red. However, green does have a lot of haste creatures. So here we go. Here's my slightly twisty-turvy take on Omega for today's video. Enjoy. So, at the beginning, we have the invasion of Kamigawa. Enter the battlefield, tap target artifact creature and opponent's controls, put a stun counter on it. And then when you get the battle sorted out, you get the Rooftop Saboteurs. When they deal combat damage to a player or battle, you get to draw a card. But, you know, yeah. Tap something down to start with for 4 mana. Cope with that plan. Then creatures. Now, most of the creatures have two things in common. They either have haste or they have a way of upsetting our opponents. So the Ginger Brute's in because it's colourless haste at the end of the day and gains you a little bit of life. The Gold Vein Hydra makes a reappearance in a green deck because of the Vigilance, Trample and Haste, and you know, getting the treasure tokens isn't going to be the end of the world. And then the blue creatures start appearing because they all get to do stun counters as well. So Snare Master's in, and we will cast this for 3 mana to tap target creature and opponent controls to put a stun counter on it, even though it's a 1/1 in the air for 1. Flood Pitch Drowner does the same thing. When it enters, tap target creature and opponent controls, put a stun counter on it. But you can then shuffle this and a target creature with a stun counter on it into their owner's libraries if you need to get rid of that card entirely, which is pretty good. Referee Squad also makes an appearance. You get to convoke this one out and put another stun counter somewhere. Shackle Slinger does the thing if it's a set, but this is slightly better. If you cast your second spell, choose target creature and opponent controls. If it's tapped, put a stun counter on it, otherwise tap it. So, you know, casting 2 spells a turn isn't the end of the world with this guy out. The next one of the haste guys from green is Axbane Ferox, which is Death Touch and Haste and collect evidence for the ward ability, which upsets people. Dream Drew Entrancer comes in from Bloomborough to help us do the whole tap one target creature and put 3 stun counters on it. If we control that creature, we do get to draw 2 cards though. So, you know, if you're really desperate for card draw, yeah, there are a couple of things you could quite happily tap down. Galvanic Giant is next in. Lets us draw 4, discard 2 if we want to do the Storm Reading Adventure side of it for 7 mana at instant speed. But whenever you cast a spell with mana value 5 or more, tap a creature and put a stun counter on it, which is pretty good. Questing Beast has haste. We all know what this does. And then so Shifting Ceratops, digging deep into the old core sets now. This is M20. You get to pay a green and give it either Reach, Trample, Haste until the end of turn, but it's a 5/4 that can't be countered, so we'll cope with that, and Pro Blue isn't the worst thing. Splash Slasher is the offspring from Bloomborough as well. Whenever this creature enters, tap up to one target creature and put a stun counter on it. Do the same for the offspring. You're going to cast this for 6 all the time to tap down 2 creatures. Waylaying Pirates enters, as long as we control an artifact, we get to put a stun counter on a creature or an artifact an opponent controls. Balustrade Worm comes in at 5 mana with Trample and Haste. And if we have Delirium, we can bring it back from our graveyard with a finality counter on it. So, you know, double duty for this one. Constrictor Sage comes in as well. Tap target creature and opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. And then we can literally exile this card if we need to at some stage to do it again once it's been killed off. Froghemoth makes an appearance. Trample and haste, and hopefully we'll make it bigger by exiling cards from people's graveyards. Frostrider also comes in with a Wall 2, taps a creature and puts a stun counter on it. And then Monstrosity of the Lake from the Lord of the Rings commander set enters. Pay 5. If you do, tap all creatures your opponents control, then put a stun counter on each of those creatures. 10 mana is a lot for a 4/6, but, and it is big but, you can cycle it for 2 for island cycling and go and get that land you may be missing if you desperately need to. Petrifying Meddler is basically an Eldrazi that comes in, tap up to 1 target creature and put a stun counter on it. It's a 5 mana, 4/5 with reach and a stun ability, so I quite like this one. The Watcher in the Water also makes its way over from Lord of the Rings lands. Enters the battlefield tapped with 9 stun counters on it. But whenever you draw a card, you get to get a tentacle token. And whenever a tentacle you control dies, untap up to 1 target Kraken and put a stun counter on up to 1 target non-land permanent. Okay then. I can kill one of my tentacles off quite happily to untap this and put a stun counter elsewhere. Thornling, just make sure you've got 6 mana available to give this haste. 7, you can give it trample as well, which isn't the end of the world. Tyrannic's Atrocity also comes in. It's got toxic, so it's going to make you a bit of a target, but it's got haste and it's a 4/4 for 5 mana in green. And yeah, had to have it here. Fear of sleep paralysis. We like having stun counters, and we like the fact that people can't remove stun counters. Fear of sleep paralysis does that for us quite nicely. Thank you very much. Surek and Goreclaw make our creatures bigger and give them haste. Foreign clicks. Let's find one that everyone can read. There we go. Foreign clicks. If one or more counters, if you would put one or more counters on a permanent of a player, put twice that numbers on, so double up your stun counters. And then anyone puts any counters on you, you put half of them rounded down, so it's all good. Gaia's Revenge can't be countered, has haste, and can't be the target of non-green spells or abilities from non-green sources. Tyrannic's Rex also has toxic, trample, ward 4, haste, 8/8, can't be countered. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The Tarasqui at 9 mana for a 10/10 with haste and ward 10 as long as we've cast it, that's fine. And when it attacks, it fights target creature defending player controls. And finally, for the hasty creatures, Thrasher, Tempest Roar. We're hoping we're going to be able to get a couple of spells cast before we cast this to get the casting cost down to a reasonable level. But yeah, as long as it's into the battlefield this turn, it has hexproof. And it's got trample and haste at 7/7. But it could be cheap, it could be expensive. It depends how quickly we get it out. Sorceries, well, we've got some fun. Doppelgang, because I still haven't cast this as a commander game, so it's in here and I'm playing green-blue. We've got Farseek for some mana ramp, and then we've got Freeze in Place to put 3 stun counters somewhere and a scry, along with Impede in Momentum for 3 stun counters and a scry. Nature's Law for some ramp, along with Rampant Growth and 3 visits. Tranquilize comes in, tap target creature and opponent controls and put 3 stun counters on it. Cultivate for more ramp. Involuntary Cooldown for some more of those lovely, let's tap 2 things down and put 2 stun counters on them now. Venture Forth for the random lands that we're going to need to make this deck tick. Bribery, because yeah, we might as well kill someone with their creatures instead of killing them with our own. Mind Spiral, because we can target player draws 3 cards, we can give someone a fish and tap target creature and put a stun counter on it. And then to make sure everything stays how we need it to be, we can do Echo of the Eons to shuffle our hands and libraries into our graveyard and draw 7 new ones if we need to. Instance, well, counter spells here, Game Changer with Cyclonic Rift and Mana Drain to help us control what's going on around us. Succumb to the Cold, we get to put tap 1 or 2 target creatures and opponent controls and puts a stun counter on them. Trap the Trespasses, each player secretly votes for a creature you don't control, then those votes are revealed. For each creature with 1 or more votes, put that many stun counters on it, then tap it. Yeah, okay then. Out of the Cold, goes in, does some more, can't be countered, tap 2 target creatures and stun counter on each of them, Investigate, and Wicked Slumber does the same thing again. Put a stun counter on either of them, then put a stun counter on either of them. So, you know, 2 creatures get stunned and we get Convoking, so good for us. Artifacts are pure ramp with Mox Tantalite, Soul Talisman, and the Elixir of Immortality to shuffle everything back in when it goes pear-shaped. Lava Spur, Boots to protect Omega when we get them out. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet for the ramp. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot, Boots to protect Omega. Talisman of Curiosity for some more mana ramping, and then Mojar Stormhammer from Assassin's Creed. We're going to hopefully get Amiga in play. We're going to cast this, attach it to Amiga, and then when it attacks, tap target creature defending player controls with a stun counter on it. Then Olmorgen deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of tapped creatures that opponent controls. Could be a way of winning the game quite happily. 4 enchantments, two of which double up as our extra lands. We've got the Growing Rights of Itlimoc, which we know turns into the Itlimoc Cradle of the Suns, and Hadana's Climb to chuck around some +1/+1 counters, which will eventually turn into the Winged Temple of Alcazar. Stunning Strike gives us another way of making sure we can tap down something. Just don't put it on legendary creature. Just don't. But it does take it out of combat. It doesn't tap it down permanently, but you know, it does sort of like say, well, if it's a legendary creature, it doesn't tap it down permanently. Let me rephrase that. If it is a non-legendary creature, it's tapped until they get rid of the Stunning Strike. So yay. And Kidnap, enchant creature. We will gift a card to someone and we'll gain control of whatever creature we've decided to cast it at. Because of these two, counting as 35 and 36, there's only 34 lands in the deck, and they are all non-basic. To be honest, we needed to make sure we had non-basic lands in the deck, and we have got them all in. We have got one forest and we have got one island just to save us, but everything else taps for blue or green or sacks for it or whatever it does, just to make sure that we can get those where X is the number of non-basic lands we control for Amiga working. And that's it. That is my take on Amiga, the Heartless Evolution. Quite good fun. Interesting card. I did think about trying to keep it all commons and uncommons to make it really cheap, but yeah, it's really difficult with the stun stuff, and there are some cards you really do need to have in a blue-green deck, which I've put in. So there we go. That's the deck for today. If there's anything you think I've missed out, as usual, leave me a comment down below. I do read everything and I try and respond to everything. If you've not been here before, I'd love it if you could subscribe as well to the channel. Please do the algorithm stuff by subscribing, liking, sharing the video. Help me out significantly. And yeah, and if you want to see me play Amiga when it hits MTGO, link down below to Twitch. Come and give me a follow over there. Come and join sort of like the 283 people I have there. So the more the merrier over there as well. But for now, thanks for watching. Take care. And I'll be back tomorrow with another one. See you then. Bye.